Hi, my name is Rebecca Plimmer and I'm a Research Intern with We Are With You Shropshire's Young Persons team. In a previous video, I spoke about the characteristic profile of those vulnerable to child criminal exploitation in the rural region of Shropshire. In this video, I'd like to discuss the parental experiences of parents and those working closely with parents affected by child criminal exploitation. Qualitative findings revealed 5 core themes, including parental trauma, grooming narratives and misconceptions, a parent's eye view, barriers to parental service engagement, and cannabis substance versus identity. The first theme of parental trauma recognises the trauma experienced by parents affected by child criminal exploitation, with this trauma being characterised by a sense of loss, whether this be in the worst possible cases, loss in terms of death of a child, serious injury or separation, as well as loss in relation to loss of a child's identity due to the physical and behavioural changes implicated within criminal exploitation. In addition to this sense of loss is a sense of fear experienced by parents that perpetuates this trauma, with many parents fearing for themselves, their partners, younger children within the household itself and the widening community, as well as many parents fearing for their own children that's implicated in the line, knowing that their child could be facing serious injury, death, or potential imprisonment. It's a horrible existence for any parent. The second theme of grooming narratives and misconceptions highlights the defining role of grooming within criminal exploitation. With these CC perpetrators using a villainised narrative of parents, which is characterised by parents' perceived lack of affection and concern for their child. This isolates both parents and children and places strain on their relationship. In addition to this villainised narrative of parents perpetuated by CC perpetrators, is various grooming misconceptions implicated within criminal exploitation, with the misconception that criminal exploitation stops at the age of 18, when actually 18 is a pivotal age within criminal exploitation, with many of those turning 18 now conforming to a societal schema of what we deem a crime perpetrator than rather a crime victim. This may lead to the likelihood of imprisonment and therefore deeper embedment within the line. Support needs to be given for those at the age of 18 who are pivotal in changing our perceptions of a crime victim and crime perpetrator. The third theme, a parent's eye view, recognises the intimate physical and behavioural changes implicated within criminal exploitation. These physical changes are related to deterioration in self-care. This deterioration in self-care further contributes to a sense of loss experienced by parents, with many not recognising their own child anymore and how they appear. In addition to this deterioration, is changes in behaviour characterised by aggression, violence, as well as an overconfidence. This leads to many parents describing a Jekyll and Hyde personality, leaving many parents fearing and unsure how to act and how to have interactions with their own child, which again places further strain on the relationship. The fourth theme, parental barriers to service engagement, highlights the barriers experienced by parents within the field of law enforcement and social care. For law enforcement, many parents have a limited legal understanding of criminal exploitation. This leads to many parents feeling quite intimidated and frustrated, especially when this is echoed by law enforcement themselves, with law enforcement perhaps not recognising about this limited terminology around parents. This is especially predominant in the use of the national referral mechanism, which many parents are unaware of, and it's up to law enforcement to echo and respond to the needs of parents by highlighting the role of the NRM. In addition to law enforcement is social care, with many parents experiencing barriers around terminology that's used to define criminal exploitation, with neglect being used as the term to define criminal exploitation within the field of social care. This term of neglect is very frustrating for parents and puts up a perceived barrier. This barrier is further contributed to the social stigma around social care involvement. For many parents, it's really pivotal how these services respond, with many parents coming to the realisation that their child's been criminally exploited when these services become involved. The final theme, cannabis substance versus identity, recognises the defining role of cannabis within criminal exploitation, and the fact that it's not just a risk factor highlighted within the characteristic profile, but actually cannabis is a crutch when re-establishing adolescent identity following these exploitation experiences, with cannabis still providing the social interactions and the social status and acceptance within adolescent peer groups that is so prevalent and needed within the grooming aspect of child criminal exploitation through the facade of a mutual friendship that these perpetrators fulfill. Therefore, overall, these findings have implications for the treatment of parents. There needs to be a parent-centred approach for services relevant and working with CCE victims. There needs to be greater awareness around the defining role of cannabis, not only as a risk factor, but also as a crutch in re-establishing adolescent identity following these exploitation experiences. There needs to be either transition workers or bridging the gap schemes for those at the pivotal age of 18 within criminal exploitation who are very vulnerable to facing potential imprisonment and deeper embedment within the line. And finally, and most importantly, there needs to be national awareness for child criminal exploitation, to protect and support both children and parents. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the research.